Stoppage 1. We're going to talk about the structures of the ruck and then the rovers as some frameworks. Then the roles and methods of the rovers. Everything, of course, under the assumption that it's all intentional, unless stated otherwise. And then finally, look at the result of the stoppage. So, this is the very first ruck contest. It's natural to be cagey, to be feeling each other out. So, question is, where does each ruck want to go? The standard answer, and that's what we'll see here, is in the angles between 90 degrees to your left and straight in front for a right-hander. So De Koning and Stanley, both right-handers. De Koning's going to put it to the 45 angle degree forward to his left, and Stanley will do the same thing to the other side. So where is the ball likely to go in an equal ruck stalemate? If it doesn't go to one of those two areas, where's it going to go? And the answer usually is straight down, anywhere within 1 to 2 meters. So the consequence of that is you want to be front and center. That's where you get rewarded in a drawn ruck contest in a stalemate. So Cripper here is the clear aggressive target for the Blues. They're clearly going for a 1 aggressive player and 2 defensive players for their rovers. The 2 defensive players being Sam Walsh at the back here and Paddy Dow to the right. The Cats, on the other hand, have a little bit of a more balanced approach. So it's going to be 1 tagger, 1 very defensive player on Cripps, and 2 not nearly as attacking, just very balanced positional players from Dangerfield and Guthrie. So Cripps is in this aggressive role. He's going to try to create himself space, pick up the ball at speed, and exit the contest. You know, Chris Judd did this better than anybody. Cripper doesn't have the same pace, but you'll see here what Cripper does have is the strength. So he's going to create separation to give the effect of speed, which has the same consequence, separation. In response, you know, the Danger and Guthrie are going to adapt defensively, and we'll see that. So I'll play it forward now that I've talked about the structures, so you see what happens. And then I'll talk about the roles as I play it back. So you can see here, Cripper pushes his opponent away, creates a space to move forward. Fortunately, the ball drop doesn't go in his favour, and then it's pretty scrappy from there on. Danger will get a quick kick forward, which comes back just as quick. And I'll just play it forward just so you see the result. Geelong will mop up. You can see at AFL level especially, these blind kicks, we'll call them, get punished a lot. Teams are really good at mopping up, especially at the half-back line. So we'll restart the footage here. So I want to talk a little bit more detail about the player body positioning and their movements. So I mentioned just before that Cripps is going to create space by pushing off his opponent. That starts really early. It starts right here. So Cripps getting in front, pushing his man away. Look how far back he is by the time he's coming in. He's not at the edge of the circle, he's way back, pushed his man off balance backwards, creates this separation to go forward. So from this, you know, the idea from this side-on hit to guy is very standard. If you're going to have this kind of desire to get the ball from the ruck, you want to come in on this side angle. That's something the AFL players do really well, this side angle. Because typically, the other matchups will be at either end, behind each ruckman, basically. So Dangerfield normally, is in a really good spot to be exactly where Stanley wants to be, but he's not moving too fast. I think there's a bit of respect there against Cripp. Balanced defensive positioning from Danger and Guthrie, because they are there to close the exit for where Paddy Cripps, making this run, wants to exit the contest. Right, so that's the Blues attacking side. Now we'll talk about the Cats' attacking side here a little bit. So, and obviously the Blues' defensive response to that. So, Dangerfield, a lot more static. Guthrie, pretty static. Look here at the defensive bodywork from Sam Walsh and Paddy Dow here. So, at the point the ball is up in the air, Dangerfield looking at the ruck contest, trying to read where the ball's going to go. Guthrie, much the same. Look at the positioning of Dow and Sam Walsh. They are side on, or sorry, not side on, they're front on to the player, and the player is their focus. So they're coming in at the side of that player. They're not coming in behind, they're coming in at the side of that player. And they're moving forwards into the player. So they've not started next to their opponent like the Geelong player he has with Cripps, and that prevents them, I think, from getting pushed off prematurely. So we'll play it forward just a little bit, but this is very intentional. This is absolutely coached into them. And they're not big guys, Dow and Walsh, so it's all about technique and work rate from them. So coming in, contact here, pushing their opponent into the inner space, and the reward that you can get from this is, like Cripps creating space on the inside, this pushing movement creates space on the outside. So if Cripps does collect the ball here, Walsh can push off, get space on the outside of sweeper, and he's free to run to his left, especially where Cripps was, or to his right, which is preferred kicking side, around the back. As sweeper, when you're at the back of the contest, you're facing forwards, which means you're in a prime position to run forwards. Makes sense, right? So you can't see it on the screen, but Paddy Dow, we saw before, is doing the exact same thing to Cam Guthrie. And you can see here, the Geelong players, they've moved in. They're anticipating Cripps would get the ball, and they're in a perfect position to shut that down. Now, it's only luck that it comes out the back to the Geelong player, but, you know, there's a bit of football. All of this is about putting the odds in your favour. You don't get 100% odds, but you just want to go high percentage. That's all it is. Okay, stoppage 2. So we've immediately got some adaptations. Now Stanley didn't get the tap. He actually missed, the ball missed his hand by millimeters, and it just bounced on the ground. But everyone, I believe, is worked now on the assumption that Stanley will win the tap again. So De Koning is going to try to jump and get on top of him, get more physical. That's his strength as a ruckman, to jump. He's a young fella, Tom De Koning. I think he can be something special down the line. But for the moment, Stanley is the more experienced, bigger fella, probably got the advantage. So the Rovers now are assuming that Stanley will win the tap. So Cripps was the protagonist in the first instance. He's now completely changed his role. He's no longer making a hit-to run. He's defensively positioned himself exactly where Stanley was trying to hit it before. In Dangerfield's old position here, it's now filled by Menegola, but Cripps is now using his strength to shut that down. Look at his positioning here. It's a little bit different from Walsh and Dow before, and that probably is a reflection of the different size player. So Cripps, I think, has a size advantage on Menegola, so he doesn't feel the need to push into him as much. I think he can just, get him in the big bear hug and be confident that he can wrap him up. Menegola as well is a bit of a runner. It's sort of a weird position for him to be in, but I don't know too much about Menegola and the Geelong setups in general. So Kennedy is making a change. He's into the contest now, and he's fulfilling what Cripps used to do. So he's now on the side hit-to guy, and he's being trailed into the contest here by his opponent. So Kennedy is in a position now where he's both sharking, as in looking to take the roving collection from Stanley, the opponent ruckman, but he's also going to be used by Tom De Koning. So the ball is 100% going to drop here. It's just the question whether it's going to Menegola's advantage or Kennedy's advantage. So again, we'll make sure this is slowed down and we'll play it forward to see what happens. So goes up, it's much draw, slight advantage to De Koning in the tap. If I was to freeze frame it, ball comes back from Kennedy and it's a clearance to Carlton. So just we'll slow that down in frame by frame just to show you at the point of tap what's happening. So Tom De Koning, I got done before. Look how high I'm going to get in response. You see Kennedy down the bottom right absolutely has front position. Menegola is getting pushed under the ball by Cripps here. So that's where Cripps is using his strength, pushes opponent under the ball from behind. So it's a different method that Walsh used, but very cool, different players. So frame by frame, we'll see slight advantage on the tap from De Koning. Use that leap to get body positioning. It's his hand on the ball and it's put to the advantage of Kennedy. Now, apologies for the glitching here, but that's something that just happens when I go frame by frame. My PC isn't that good, unfortunately, but it's good enough. So you see there, Kennedy takes possession. He's tackled the moment or even before he gets it, but able to get those hands up, and he's actually got a couple of players here. He's able from this position with 3 Geelong players on him. Cripps is now free out the back. Use that space again, pushes the opponent under the ball. De Koning here will actually get the disposal, but that's a huge win to Carlton, and I believe very intentional. Last thing to point out about this clip is, if we just play it a second, you see here the dynamic is created with heavily lopsided to the left. Guthrie's pushed across defensively, I think, as that sweeper. So he's at the other side again of the Carlton hit to close that space, and has created space at the back. That's a risk Geelong are absolutely willing to take, and you can see the adaptation from the guys outside the circle here. The difference being Kernow and Jed Buse, I believe, are running in to close that space, and they have to do it together, really, because if one of them goes and the other stays back, then it's too great a risk. And you can see the contrast. There's no space out the back here at the other side of the contest, so these guys are not showing anywhere near the same intention to get into the midfield space. Okay, stoppage number 3. We've got an excellent continuation in adaptation. Again, both teams very clearly understand what's going on and are trying to get the little tiny strategic advantage. So the consistent thing is that Stanley has a slight advantage and everyone's playing around that. The Carlton hit to guy is no longer Cripps or anyone making a really aggressive run into De Koning's preferred side. It's Kennedy again on Stanley's preferred side, looking to both Rove and Shark. Now Stanley's other option on his preferred side is straight in front. Now Walsh is in this position for Carlton instead of Cripps, and it's a different approach. So Walsh is actually looking to take front position himself as opposed to Cripps looking to push the man under. A different Geelong player again. But they'll come into the contest as it goes. And again, Geelong have that sweeper out the back, looking to take the other space. So if the active zone is in this where my cursor is, Stanley's active region, the Geelong sweeper is literally at the opposite end of that. And the Carlton player here is Paddy Dow. His job is to shut that down. So we'll play it forward. You'll see that Paddy Dow is not able to do that. So the tap here goes to exactly where it should, but everyone's given himself a little bit more space this time. You can see the physicality here. Kennedy and Guthrie not willing to give anything away, and on the other side, they've pushed back a lot. So Stanley actually follows up his tap with roving, and you can see the Geelong sweeper, prime position, get it out the back, attack it at space, get it forward. Dow's unable to keep up with him with that little separation. We don't see how he gets that separation, but I'll let you use your imagination. So Stanley here has really been quite dominant in this stoppage, wins the tap, follows up his own work, and then he's going to make a really nice block. And Parfait is able to get a pretty strong clearance away to a one-on-one. But It's not a clean, clear disposal to advantage, so that favours the defensive players generally. And you can see there Cripps in his backup role as forward marking target. Okay, stoppage 4. This one's pretty different again. We got a big change in dynamics. I believe that's Blue Calves back on as the backup ruckman for Geelong. But the overall structure is pretty similar as far as the Rovers are concerned. So we've got a lot of personnel changes. It is hard to keep too much continuity, and there is just sort of an element of guessing and chaos, and that's actually pretty cool, I think, part about the game. So there's a very deliberate change here. This is a huge tactical win for Geelong. So you'll see immediately the trap. They're not going to go the same way. The structure at the start is the same setup. They got the sweeper at the back and 2 guys hitting in the hit into where normally, as we've seen in the first 3, that's where the Geelong ruckman wants to go, but this is Geelong's backup ruckman. So they're not actually planning to win the tap in the same way. It's going to change totally. So they see a lot of space out to this right side. Dangerfield back in. One of his strengths absolutely is explosive pace and strength to get separation. So that's what they're going to exploit here. If we play here again in slow-mo, you can see immediately the Geelong ruckman adjusts, comes in, looks to body on. Tom De Koning gets the tap from size, but both ruckmen want to put it to the same way. So Geelong have actually ambushed Carlton to some effect here. And you can see Danger, he's also read the tap. The tap probably favours the strat from Geelong. You can see the ball is sort of to the top right of that angle. But you see the movement from Danger. He's no longer static like we saw in that first example. He's on the run and he's able to hit the ball at pace. All three Geelong Rovers are in the first 3 positions to collect this ball off the deck. So that is a complete a tactical victory as you can get, to have all 3 of your Rovers in a better position than all 3 of the opposition Rovers. Is quite remarkable, especially from your backup ruckman. So surprise tactic, he works out beautifully. Danger can pick up cleanly, which is a fair effort, gets it off just in time before Fogarty can shut him down. This one is different again. We're at stoppage 1 of the second quarter, stoppage 5 total. So this is a more traditional basic setup to begin with, but that basicness ends the moment the ball gets tossed up. So you can see sweepers at the back for either team. Cripps is in front here as blocker, and same position here in front as blocker for Geelong. So the 2 hit 2s coming from the side. Stanley is back in, and he's been the dominant ruckman. So you predict, both teams are playing around that. Basically, the ball is more than likely going to be from Stanley's hand to Stanley's left, and that's where both the hit 2 guys are. But Walsh, as a defensive hit 2, is going to play it a little different, play it a little unorthodox. Going to set a bit of a trap with Dow, and this is really cool. So this is very much sharking in play. So we'll play it forward, and you'll see what happens. Watch Walsh and Parfitt here. So Parfitt makes in, running straight for the ball. See that little head turn? He's gone, what the hell just happened? Walsh ran off me. He's a bit surprised, didn't expect that. So Walsh has run off to man on to this Geelong player, and Dow, in turn, is going to shuffle across and run in to the same space that Parfitt is running in. And you can see if either of these 2 players get it, it's going to be running into a lot of space. So again, we'll play it forward. Stanley wins the tap exactly to where Parfitt is, who is alone, but also exactly where, not if that half split second was alone, but he's also exactly where Dow is coming in. So very much a sharking attempt. Dangerfield in that customary role at the top is the blocker position, but he's the most aggressive blocker you'll ever seen. It's very much a ball magnet position. Geelong are trying to hit that zone. And we'll just play it on from here. So no one really gets it. It's not a clean It's not a clean clearance, but Dangerfield gets the ball and gets it forward really strong way, deep in the 50. Alright, second quarter, stoppage 2. So again, the consistent theme is Stanley's dominating the tap, and you can see no one is standing in front of the standard place where if Tom de Koning were to win the tap, it'd be in front. No one's there. Everyone's playing around Stanley winning the tap. So we've got some different adaptations. Cripps is back in. His man is pretty far back. So Cripps wants to shark the position where it's natural for Stanley to hit it to. Stanley does want to hit it to Dangerfield, though. That's absolutely the case. And Walsh and Dow are going to do that very similar move as they made last time. They're going to shuffle around to try to create some space to exit the contest. So we'll play it forward. You'll see the guys at the top right here come in. Cripps is coming in. His role here is to shark, and his Geelong opponent is just trying to shut him down. So Geelong aggressive player here is Dangerfield. That's where they want it to go. Carlton, they want it to go to Cripps or Dow as sharkers. They're not expecting to win the tap. So Geelong player tagging him in, create space at the back. For the first time, Tom gets actually quite a good tap into the space where Dow wants it. So it's actually a clearance to Carlton, even though it's really scrappy. It's not clean at all. So I'll replay that just to slow it down and show you again. So here, frame by frame, I want to show you the tap. Tom trying to use his jump to get, not touch the ball at the height of the jump. I think that's really hard to do. Time it to get the height, but he's using his jump to get dominant position where the ball is. So jump onto the guy, and then where you land is an improved position. So that space over to the right, tap out from Tom de Koning, Dow collects, but Dangerfield, as his focus is to be where the ball drops, and that's exactly where he is. So even though Danger doesn't get it, if I replay it again, even though Danger doesn't get it, he's still in a really good position. If you watch him trailing in, he's very conscious of where Walsh is, getting that front position, and then where the tap is, that's my roll, bang. Right, next contest. Okay, first stoppage of the third quarter. We're into the second half now. So again, similar setup to begin with. Stanley is expected to win this tap and is expected to hit it to Danger. Kennedy's going to have a slightly different defensive approach in his bodywork. Going to start a little further back. He's not going to go the side on as much. You can see the Carlton players are to the side where they think the ball's going to drop. They want front position here as sharkers, as we talked about before. They're sharking right now. Whereas the other guys, I think the Geelong guys in turn are also happy with this, and they're willing to let them have the inside, and they'll get on the outside for a release from Dangerfield. And ideally, Danger, he can use that release, hands on the outside, but he's got the explosive pace to break away from the contest himself if he can. So we'll play it forward and you'll see what happens as we go. See front position there from, I believe that's Cripps. And Curnow will go front position. Guthrie moves to back position right there. He intentionally goes back. So tap won by Stanley. I don't know what this free is for, straight up. I think it's a push in the back. The umpire doesn't seem to clarify it, and I don't want to listen to the commentary team to find out or hear their misinterpretations. But yeah, so it's a free kick to Carlton, which I think is pretty soft, but a real, I'd call that a clearance win almost to Geelong, ignoring the free kick result. Tap pretty much straight to Danger. Okay, second stoppage of the third quarter. So very similar starting again, but some adjustments thereafter. So Cripps again will look to shark after where Stanley wants to put it. I think Danger is out of this contest. So that sparks a change in approach, even though it's the same structural setup to begin with. But they're sort of revealing something already. You can see it if you know what's coming. The Geelong players, they're two starting at the back here. They're having a bit of a chat. Kennedy is, again, like Cripps, in a sharking position here, like he was before as well. These are the zones where Stanley wants to hit it to as a ruckman. Cam Guthrie again as sweeper, which is an established pattern, sort of hitting the opposite end of that. Now, Curnow is pretty defensive here against Guthrie. Right, so we'll see. The point is here to see that Kennedy is starting where he thinks Stanley goes, and Stanley's going to instead change up where he's going to hit it to. He's not going to hit it forward. He's going to hit it to where Parfa is at the back of the contest and where Guthrie is at the back of the contest. Now, Guthrie and Curnow are both very defensively minded in this example and in general, I think. So both of those, they look at them. Neither is in a position to take the ball. They're just making sure that the other guy can't get it. The guy who Stanley's trying to hit there is Parfa, but it was a bit of an awkward, congested, tight spot. It doesn't really work out, but that twist as he falls, Parfa earns him a free kick against Kennedy, who went in a little bit clumsy. That's rough stuff. This is really high-level finesse from all involved. So just to see that again, you see Stanley in his mind already, it's set. I'm going to hit it to the back. I'm not going to hit it forward where Cripps is trying to shark and Dangerfield's not there anymore. I'm going to hit it back. You see Kennedy comes in. He's trying to shark as well from the front position. And that's pretty good. You see Cam Guthrie just tap it back, But end result is free kick to Geelong. Okay, third stoppage, third quarter. So Stanley's had the dominance. It's the same structural starting point. Stanley, as a dominant ruckman, has the option here to hit either to Guthrie and Parfa, who are both within that zone, either end of the favoured hitting zone. The bigger change in the structure or positioning of the players is Cripps has gone from a sharking position where he was playing where Kennedy is, but in front trying to shark. The response to that was Stanley was to put it literally to the other end of the contest. So Cripps has moved and says, all right, if you're going to do that, I'll go to where you hit it before. And in this way, if Tom does win a tap, I'm right where he wants to hit me. So it's a natural adjustment. So from this point, Stanley can hit Guthrie or Parfa, and they're both looking to get front position here. Curnow much more defensively minded, and Kennedy pretty defensively minded, but both like to shark and get their own ball too. So pretty appropriate use of players, I think, for these roles. So we'll see the bounce. I just want to illustrate again. This is really typical at the highest level. There's hit to wide players. Look at how wide he is, and look at the speed they're trying to come in and the exit space that they're trying to take advantage to the other side. So like we mentioned briefly in the other clip, if you're a winger on this right side, you're probably looking to get front position and look to come in, but not too much, because if you come in and your other guy doesn't and the ball just spills out, you don't want to be caught in that no man's land where they can just go over the top and get a free possession. So it's very much a balancing act of that jockeying for front position, but not too close. And that's what we saw in all of the roving positions. So bounces up. Let's play it forward. Tom actually wins that tap. And I'm going to speak briefly here as to the influence of the tap versus the throw. So the throw is going to go straight up and it's going to land within this red circle really reliably. The bounce, though, not so much. It's that extra element of chaos. So that extra element of chance, that forced dice roll, which I think is a pretty cool feature of the game, even if it does mean that sometimes we have to reset. I'm willing to take that because I think it's pretty cool. But I totally understand if you want to have a more reliable, more reliable way to go about it. That's fine. So Tom, because of that, bounce has a ball that's dropping more favourably to his side. He's got his leg out, which is really cool, protecting his space. Stanley's jumping really aggressively to get into it, but Tom, using his side, he's going to get the tap to where Kernow actually has worked himself to front position, and he gets a clearance. You can see here, if I replay here, these guys are moving in to that space here. No, it's pretty even on the other side. No one's really moving in. These guys are all moving in, and that's to do with where the space was. So the wingers here have pushed right in. The wingers here have not, and all the guys here push right in because that's where Tom is, looking to put forward, and as the less dominant ruckman, no one's expecting that to happen. So there's a lot of space open and available for people to come in. That's what happens. And the guys who get front position get rewarded here. So I'm not sure who that is. I think it's Dow that just comes in, reads it really well, and gets a scrappy ball forwards. So everything, intentional, they get rewarded for giving themselves the best chance. Okay, third quarter, fourth stoppage. So again, the same basic structure. We've got a really dominant ruckman here in Stanley, and the hit two guys are at Stanley's preferred side. Other side is open. So I'm going to play it forward, and you'll see the adjustment here of Martin, who is in, I think, for the first time. And he's seen this and is looking to shut down the exit path of where he thinks that the hit two guys are going to go. You see on the other end, just not sure who that is. It's Walsh. See on the other end, Walsh is looking to shark and get front spot into a position that Stanley wants to hit. So Stanley has really only got an option to go to this hit two guy, or do like he did, I think, in the second or third clearance of the game, tap it to himself onto this open side, which I don't think that was super intentional. It just was an unintentional product of circumstance. Right, so we'll play it forward. You see Stanley, again, dominate the ruck, tap it to where he wants to. Guthrie, that is coming in from the side, that's his primary target. The other primary target is shut down because Walsh is taking that position. So I just want to play this forward again, just to illustrate the dynamic outside the square. So just like before, the open space is to the right here, and no one's expecting Tom to win it, so there's going to be a lot of space. Like the ball's going to go to this front side typically. Stanley's going to adjust, but the outsides aren't necessarily to know that. So you expect them to come in, and like before, I think Dow got rewarded for that movement. The same thing's going to happen when we get the camera to come out again. This is why I really hate looking at AFL vision rather than seeing the games live, because at live you can see everything at all times. So what I wanted to show here was the movement of the wingers and stuff. The ball comes out to this area, and the guys, I think, are ready for it, and first, like the guy in front, gets rewarded. Okay, third quarter, fifth stoppage. You could summarise Geelong's game plan so far in 2 sentences. Get it to Dangerfield and get it away from Cripps. So Collingwood at this point in the game have adjusted and said, all right, we're going to put Cripps on Dangerfield. So you simply cannot do that. We're going to take that approach out of the question. So we'll see what happens in this instance. Again, same setup, literally the same setup. It's a really firmly established thing now. Stanley is got 2 guys to hit to in his hitting zone. Everyone's expecting it to go there. Danger and Guthrie, and Parfa as a sweeper position, and he's adjusted to be literally the other side of it. And from here, he can get on the move and run if he wants, or he can sit back a little bit. But Kennedy, defensively getting in front of him a little bit, looking to shut down the run before it begins. So a bit of a chaos ball, and I hate these change of angles right at this point. Is if you're watching, and I know you're not AFL broadcasters, but this is the worst thing. You as a viewer, you want continuity at this point in time. Don't change it right here. Change it before they throw it, please, for the love of God. Anyway, so play it forward a little bit. You can see Stanley, I think, wants to tap it to Danger. Now Cripps is putting himself in a sharking position. He also wants that ball, and they're pretty equally sized in strength and power. So no one's getting a huge advantage. Both are moving at pace, and they're pretty close. They're pretty close this time. So it's going to be hard to get a clean touch. We're going to play frame by frame. Decoding actually is trying to tap it to their direction too, and Decoding, I think, gets the final tap. But it's sort of a moot point. It drops pretty much where these two hitters are going. Sammy Walsh is very intelligent playing on Parfa, and with that front positioning he had, it also allows him to shut down any potential move from Danger. So you can see he's very much looking block the run of Parfa and block the exit of Danger. So block the run in from Parfa and block the run out from Danger. And unfortunately, we don't see that because of the broadcasting. But what's the man to do? This is, I think, a big win for Carlton. Unfortunately, Stanley just gets his mitts on the handball, but shit happens. The exact same thing happens to Guthrie here, I think, only he's spoiled by his own teammate this time. And Sam Petrovsky-Seton, one of the most composed players in the game, gets a relatively easy exit. So that composure, nice move from Jack there. I'll take any chance I can to build up Jack. He's my favourite player. Okay, first stoppage of the fourth quarter. So even though it's a different ruckman, Stanley's no longer in there, it's Radigalia. It's the same setup favouring the Geelong ruckman's side. Carlton here have firmly changed their approach, but there is a still strong similarity. So Decoding here is looking for Cripps. Cripps is, generally speaking, the go-to guy. Carlton trying to get the ball into Cripps' hands from the go-to, from the tap. And they've adjusted in the way that even if Geelong get the tap, it still comes to fruition. Their plan to get Cripps at the front and centre drop of the ball is still happening. So it's a really cool compromise that Carlton have done. It's not to Decoding's preferred side, but it's their compromise. So it's up to Radigalia now to try to do something different if they want to get it away from Cripps. And you can see Cripps is no longer making that big run-in initially. It's a more conservative, static play, which you see him backing up to move forward, but it's I think a reflection of a more defensive mindset. So push him back, get him forward, and picks up the ball. Dangerfield in that position is ready to wrap him up. You could probably argue as well, with Danger playing here and Cam Guthrie here, that Geelong probably assume they're going to lose this one. Right, so this one's pretty similar to the last one. Slight adjustment. Carlton's hit two guys, still Cripps. He's adjusted from the side to the top of the square here. Very defensive matchup on the other side from Curnow and Guthrie again. And Dangerfield is a hit two for Radigalia. Again, starting wide, coming in. This is the defensive compromise for Carlton. I will really want to emphasise that point. This is them adjusting to Geelong's ruck dominance, even though it's not the main ruckman. This is Carlton trying to draw, close the gap from a losing position. So even if Geelong win the tap, and the hitting zone for him is sort of all three, but mainly to the left. Carlton's guys are all looking to get front position and give nothing away, and Cripps, especially as their guy, is was in the hit two there, now is over here. So that's probably a reflection of Carlton's increased confidence, and they're going to get the tap. It's not Stanley, it's Radigalia, so Cripps, can be in this position. Doesn't have to sit on Dangerfield like he did before. That's a bit of a guess though. So Radigalia gets a tap to Danger, who Dow is straight on him, but Danger's so good that he can get the handball back. This is something that shouldn't be allowed to happen. Like, this play from Dangerfield, and he did this a lot this game. I watched this game live. You don't expect guys to make this play. So frame by frame here, one-handed collect with a player preemptively tackling him, moving at pace, way high. He's got two hands on him, Paddy Dow, and he's got one arm gripped. See, Paddy Dow, excellent tackler. Look at his position there. His left hand is got Danger by the wrist. That's an excellent position. It's an excellent way to mitigate what your opponent can do. Hard to execute, but yeah, the right hand is looking to lock in that right arm, but because Danger is moving at such pace, it's so hard to do. It's so hard to do, like to stop him, but it's also so hard to make this. So from this point, Dow, you'd think, has got him locked up. Danger shouldn't be able to get away. But the power, we talked about the technique, the skill, this is just strength. He's able to wrestle this arm free. I'm playing it forward here, let's see if it goes. There we go. Wrestle the arm forward, out to Radigalia, and clearance Geelong. There's just... man's a modern day legend. What do I say? Okay, third stoppage, fourth quarter. Okay, third stoppage, fourth quarter. Carlton have adapted, I think, here pretty dramatically. And they're sort of throwing the kitchen sink at it in some sense. So it's getting in the fourth quarter. If Carlton will win this game, and they are trying to win, they got to change up something, and they got to go hell for leather, get the ball and go. So to that end, from this losing ruck position, all of their players want first position. They're scrapping the defensive side. They all want first position, get the ball aggressively and go with it. I'll slow it down. She glitched on me a little bit there. But Stanley just literally just picks up the ball. Just catches the ball from the ruck. But, there's three Carlton players in a good position to shut him down. So Tom De Koning's role in this scenario, I think, as ruckman, is just to make sure the ball hits the deck for these front position guys. And to that end, I think he did the right thing. You can see his leap there. His strength is his leap. He's just trying to fuck up whatever Stanley's doing, is my assumption. Get the ball anywhere in front position within the circle, and from there, Carlton can manufacture something. But it's not the clean breakaway that they were hoping for at the first quarter. It's very much the opposite of that in tactics. And at this point in the game, it makes a lot of sense, so it's a fair adjustment. Again, Stanley able to pick it up. But the point is, Carlton, the pressure that they put on works to some degree. They get that chance that they miss. They fumble at the inappropriate time. Okay, fourth stoppage, fourth quarter. So this time, Blicavs is in. Blicavs is going to try to tap it to Danger. De Koning also, in a similar way that we saw earlier, is going to try to tap it towards Danger. But instead of Cripps, it's to Walsh. So Walsh is going to try to shark, but he's going to try to shark from behind. So it's a bit of controlled chaos from Carlton, and fairly fairly controlled orthodox stuff from Geelong. You can see their sweeper this time is a long way back, and Cam Guthrie knows it's not coming to him. He's chilling. Yeah, we'll play it forward. You can see what happens. So Tom De Koning passes it towards Danger, but it's Sammy Walsh who's able to get the loose ball after the physical pressure that De Koning's put out. So De Koning, from this less dominant tap position, has looked to adjust into a physical presence that can create pressure on the Geelong Rovers and ruckman and not let them get easy balls out, which for a young developing ruckman is probably all you can expect against, top 3 side in the competition. So, fair play. Makes sense. Okay, so stoppage. What are we at? Stoppage 5, fourth quarter. So Blickharves staying in the ruck here for the moment. They're probably resting Stanley. I think Chris Scott talked a little bit in the post-match how they had 3 or even 4 players that they were just trying to minimise their time on the ground. And when they were winning by 32, by literally 30 points, fourth quarter, you can do that. So it's the same structure to begin with that it's been for the whole, for most of the game. Hit 2 guys favouring Geelong side, and sweepers and blockers at either end otherwise. So this time the bounce is a little bit weird. You can see the effect here. So by the time they take it, they're pretty much on the edge of the circle, even outside. And Blickharves, that adjustment that he made to get over the top, to get the physical contest, that's probably to mitigate, I'm guessing, De Koning's run and jump. I think if De Koning is to win against Blickharves comprehensively, it's probably because he's going to out-jump him. So Blickharves says, all right, I'm just going to wrestle you, which makes a lot of sense. The other matchup that I want to talk about here is the Kennedy versus Danger. So Blickharves, I'm pretty sure he has it in his head that he wants to hit it to Danger, and that's sort of where he's looking for when he taps it over the shoulder, but the weird bounce completely disorients him, I think. So he taps it sort of to the space where he would be, where he thinks he is, where it's sort of natural for him to do so. In that motion for a right-hander, that's what he's doing. Only Danger's not there. But Kennedy, like Walsh before, is not super defensive about this matchup. He's playing off him a little bit, and he's looking to be aggressive himself. Get the ball if you can and go. You can see Kerner looking to get into it, and Cripps, as well as the other guy, looking to get into it. Very much sharking from the Carlton players from this defensive, disadvantageous ruck position. So, tap to Blickharves, sweeper at the back. This time is Cripps. He's able to get handball, another handball, and a really clean clearance this time for Carlton. Okay, stoppage 6, quarter 4. This is the best angle you can get from the broadcast vision. The other matchup is Cripps and I think number 43 for Geelong over to the left. They're going to run in a second. This is pretty cagey. There's no Dangerfield. Cripps is the hit 2 guy that De Koning's going to try to hit out to the left here. And Stanley's just going to do his normal thing to the right. Only this time, Guthrie's there, but he's been very defensive, just like Kernow the whole time. He's not really the hit 2 guy as such. He's just the defensive player in the circle. So what happens sort of as a consequence of that is Cripps running in. He's going to look to take that inside tap we spoke about before. They want front position from the losing ruckman position, or the losing ruckman dynamic. And that Geelong player, his opponent, you see Cripps deviates to the right. The ball goes to where Stanley's putting it, and that favours, the 2 guys running with pace at that. Cripps deviates inside. His opponent behind him goes outside, and by a bit of luck, it favours the Geelong player. So, luck, I called it. I'm not too sure about that one. I'd like to know how intentional that was from Geelong, because they're very much playing to space. and to Guthrie, which was unusual for what they've done previously. Okay, stoppage 8. The broadcast footage literally did not show. Stoppage 7, they missed like the first 5-10 seconds of the play, so so what? This is the last one, sort of similar to before. Tom's trying to hit the front, Carlton are trying to all get front position, and in response, it seems like when you look at it like that, Carlton trying to get the inside, Geelong are now just trying to get the outside. So Stanley is hitting to his favoured easy normal side, the orthodox, front and across. But none of the Geelong players are really there. But they are on the outside. But it's playing to space a little bit. So we'll shuffle that back. I want to re-emphasise again the difference for the guys on the outside of the square. You see on this side, no one's coming in because that's where the players are. The space is on this side. So the Carlton players especially are looking to jump inside, and Carlton player there looking to block Brian Myers. And that, I think, is appropriate when you're losing in the last quarter. Just like you try to get in the inside as an outside the square player, you try to look to impact the contest, make something happen. So Tom gets a tap here. It is well back in his half. He should get this tap. But Stanley's able to shut that down, and it's only those guys coming in off the side that give Carlton a chance at it. Anyway, fumbles, that doesn't happen. Geelong are clean and classy enough to get it away. That's the last of the footage we have of the game. Now, I've just done my own stat taking here as I watched the footage and then I spoke through. So I'll share the stats that I collected with you here. And the big takeaway here for me in the stats is mostly how little you can trust stats. So, or how misleading rather they can be. I've highlighted the bottom left here, the total centre stoppages and the totals of all things. So 19 total stoppages. Geelong won 10 of those. Carlton won 7, 2 draws. So right off the bat, slight advantage to Geelong. But I think the dynamics were much more dominant for Geelong. They completely dictated the setups involved. So even though the taps were relatively close, the setups were all as a consequence of Geelong's ruck dominance and Carlton's ways to try to deal with that. So clean taps here I've listed. Half of Geelong's taps were clean, which means they went straight to a player. Carlton, 4 out of the 7 taps were straight to a player, so it's slightly better ratio for Carlton, but I don't think there's too much to that. Total clearances, actually Carlton won by total clearances, and I think that also is a little bit misleading because I think the quality of clearances was a big factor. And in Geelong having more quality clearances, the ones that Carlton got were very scrappy, I think, in nature. And there seemed to be a really good scoring opportunities as a result of Geelong clearances as opposed to Carlton ones. That's a stat that if I were to do this again and make it comprehensive, I'd love that stat. I'd love a link between clearances and scoring straight after, but I have no interest in going back and checking over at this point. The last stat I've got here is it's the tap clearance link. So how often did a tap lead to a clearance? That's a very good thing to ask. So the 3 categories here is yes, no, or non-applicable. There's non-applicable stuff in a couple of taps for a free kick or a draw or something like that. Regardless, it basically reads 5 yes, 3 no. So Geelong got most of their clearances from successful taps, and Carlton here 4 yes, 5 no. So Carlton reactive rovers. That I think is probably the most revealing stat of any of those that I've just talked about. Yeah. All right. I hope you enjoyed it. Cheers.